Next on the Daily, Toronto shocks LA, Santos kills Seattle's CCL dreams, and Henry takes the Red Bulls to task. Welcome to the Daily. It's Thursday, March 15th. I'm Andrew Wiebe, next to Greg Lawless. And Greg, a huge night for MLS teams last night. Not MLS competition, but in the CONCACAF Champions League. 2 games, 3 MLS teams, 2 chances for MLS sides to get to the semifinals, and just one moves on. Toronto FC, the lone Major League Soccer team that we'll see in the semifinals, knocking off the LA Galaxy. Huge upset, 4-3 aggregate victory, 2-1 on the night at LA's Home Depot Center. Greg, how big of an upset was this? Is it as epic as Toronto FC fans want to make it out to be?
I think in some ways it is. When you look at the tradition of both of these clubs and the history of these 2 clubs, it is a massive upset for Toronto FC to go into Los Angeles and get the victory 2-1. Ryan Johnson was the man on the night. He got a goal and an assist in this one, and he just looked dominating. If you don't have him on your fantasy team for MLS, I think you should do that. I already signed him up this morning, by the way. But ultimately, this is about a Toronto FC team that is picking up its confidence. You look at what they did in the second half of the year last year when they picked up Torsten Frings and Danny Koevermans, and they started to make some other changes. This team started to gel. Let's not forget, they went down to Dallas and got the result they needed at the end of group stage. Now they go to Los Angeles and get the result that they needed here with a 2-1 victory. It is a huge upset, I think, and it's just one of those things that for Toronto FC bodes very well for 2012.
Yeah, and just to put it on the record, I have Johnson on my fantasy. Added him 3 days ago. So to throw that one in,
well
but
done.
On the flip side, LA has to be devastated, and they said as much after this game. How much is this a blow to their ambitions? They say a lot about Super Club and the sort.
You know, I think that this is a blow because they've been talking about Champions League being a very important part of their 2012 season. This is a club that wanted to go on the global scale even more. Getting to the Club World Cup would have certainly been a big part of that. And I also think that they have to look at their defense. No Omar Gonzalez, and I think again it showed in this one because they gave up that long long cross in that Ryan Johnson was able to put away. They had struggled on the high balls again. Tommy Meyer got beaten again by Ryan Johnson on the assist, and so they struggled in this one. And I think you have to look back and say, wow, Omar Gonzalez was a massive part, not just of the defense, but of this entire team.
Yeah, another theme from that one, Robbie Keane letting 2 chances go begging. We'll see the next round, those semifinal matches with Toronto FC and Santos Laguna, who knocked off Seattle. That'll be March 27th and April 3rd. The first game in Toronto, the second down in Mexico. And speaking of Santos Laguna, the team in Mexico delivered a death blow to the Sounders' CCL chances on Wednesday night. A 6-1 victory down south of the border, a comprehensive beating for them. Seattle, 7-3 aggregate loss. They thought they had a chance going into half at 2-1 and right there in it. How is this the worst loss in Seattle history? I mean, it's a short history.
Well,
but
let's not go overboard and say it's the worst loss. It is a devastating blow to their obviously to their season and their hopes of 2012. But let's not go overboard. This is a very good Santos Laguna team playing at home. They were very motivated. Good crowd down there in Torreon, and Seattle were just overwhelmed, especially early on. When Santos came out, and they came out very hard early, and they got a couple of quick goals that were really coming off of defensive lapses, and that was the issue. I think that it was a blow to their confidence. Yes, Seattle got the goal, they came back, but they never really looked like they were going to pull this one out. And Herculez Gomez, 2 goals in the second half, the guy just keeps scoring. It's amazing.
Yeah, and it must be said that Seattle said before this game that this would be the toughest team they faced all year. So Santos, can they be stopped? We talked about Toronto FC. We talked about Herculez Gomez. He's got 7 goals in his last 5 games. As hot as you can be. What's the matchup like there?
Well, I think the key here is that Toronto has to get a good result at home. They cannot get a draw. They can't just get. They actually have to have, I think, 2 goals, a 2-goal lead in the home leg, and that's going to be vital for them if they're going to have any chance of getting past Santos, because Santos look unbeatable down in Mexico.
Yeah, another note from that game: Eddie Johnson leaving after coming on as a substitute with a hip flexor injury. A little bit of a surprise there that he maybe didn't start. Some questions about that, but Eddie's going to be injured. They're probably going to have to change the lineup for this weekend. How do the Seattle Sounders move forward?
Well, they opened their 2012 season at home, ironically against Toronto FC this weekend, and I think the key for them is they need to shore things up defensively. You know, the back line looked really lots of holes in there, lots of mistakes sort of individually I felt in this game. And then I think the guys who are the leaders, they need to take control of this team. Freddie Montero, Osvaldo Alonso, Mauro Rosales, these are the guys who need to step up and say, this team is our team. We're going to make it run. They can still obviously do very, very well this year. They're back in Champions League again, starting in this summer when they get back into group play. So this is a season and a year for Seattle to really make some noise. Wasn't in Champions League in this one, but it doesn't matter. They still have a very big 2012 ahead of them.
Yeah, and obviously many people saying that they're one of the favorites in the Western Conference, so we'll watch them as the season progresses. In some more interesting news coming out of MLS yesterday, Thierry Henry with some interesting words for his teammates.
Yeah, he came out and he called them to task after the Dallas game and basically said, we're making the same mistakes in that Dallas game that we made in 2011, and if we don't fix those, we're going to see a season like 2011. This is some harsh stuff coming from Thierry Henry. And, you know, I think we've seen some frustration. People have been talking about some of the body language that we saw against Dallas. Let's not forget, he had a great assist on the goal to Kenny Cooper. He showed that I think he's a better player when he drops in the midfield and can actually act as a playmaker for this team. But I think he's got a good point. 2 mistakes against Dallas, 2 goals. This is a team that needs somebody to really pull them together. And the problem with this I have is that Thierry Henry's not doing that. He's maybe looking at it and saying, I can go out into the public and go to the press and say, we need to pull this together. I hope he's doing the same thing in the locker room and saying, guys, this needs to be better. Because this team is begging for a leader. And if Thierry Henry is not going to be that leader, I'm not really sure who is.
Yeah, a couple more issues for them. Luke Rogers' situation still up in the air. Hans Bach is saying, haven't heard anything, we're not sure yet. And then also Juan Agudelo gone with the Olympic team duties. So it seems to be Kenny Cooper and Thierry Henry up top this weekend against RSL. Some more striker news in MLS. Bernardo Corradi, an Italian, lots of experience, a little bit on the old side. What do you make of that signing for the Montreal Impact?
Well, I think it's a good sign. Obviously, you know, this is a guy who knows how to score goals. He's done it in the past. He's done it in Italy. And he's going to come in and hopefully, you know, somehow get some goals for them. Because they don't really have a guy up top that they feel like they can lean on to get goals right now. Justin Braun, Mike Facedo, these are good players up top, but they're not the guy where you say, you know what, we're down a goal, there are 10 minutes to go, we need someone to put it in the back of the net when that chance finally comes in. I think Corradi could be that. There are questions about his age, questions about whether his legs still have it. So that'll be a question also for Jesse Marsch, marshaling his, you know, managing his time on the field.
We'll have our first chance to see Bernardo Corradi in action this weekend at the Olympic Stadium when Montreal take on Chicago Fire in their very first home game in MLS. Check back to MLSsoccer.com for all the coverage on that, all the coverage on the CONCACAF Champions League, and then later today, Extra Time Radio. That's all for today. We'll see you tomorrow.